G'day guys, how you going? Hope you're all having a fantastic afternoon. I'm going to be doing a horror review today. Now this is a horror film from Japan. I don't do a lot of Japanese horror film reviews, but today is going to be one of them. It was made in the year 2000, directed by Shougo Fuji, and this movie is called Living Hell. Now basically in Living Hell we've got a brother who lives with his other brother and sister. This main character's in a wheelchair and he's a little bit weird. And one day the father comes home and says that they have two new relatives that are going to come and move in because they need housing. So the family are a little bit reluctant at first. They don't know what to expect and they're kind of not willing to share the house with people they don't know. But the father pretty much tells them as it is, and the fact is they're going to come and stay with them whether they like it or not, so they may as well get used to the fact. So they reluctantly agree to this proposal, and um, then the next day the relatives arrive, and it's a very, very strange old mute grandmother and a very, very pale, freaky looking granddaughter. And they don't speak much. They turn up at the house, very, very weird. And from this moment on, the atmosphere starts to get very tense. You know that something is wrong with these two, but you don't know exactly what. You don't know if they're going to be dangerous or not. But you kind of have a feeling that something bad is going to happen. So throughout the film, they're making the family very uncomfortable. And to make matters worse, especially for the guy in the wheelchair, when the family leave, when the brother and the sister and the father leave the house and leave the guy in the wheelchair with these two new relatives, things go from bad to worse for the guy in the wheelchair, because it turns out that these two new housemates are in fact psychopaths and they do horrible, horrible things to this guy in the wheelchair. But no one will believe him because they think he's crazy, so he has to find a way to get out of here without too much damage being inflicted upon him. So that's as far as I'm going to go with the story. Not a complicated story, a very easy story to follow, but that's basically all you really need to know for a review. Now my thoughts on the film. Unfortunately, I didn't really like this film. Now I will say that there were parts that I really liked, in fact I loved. Now the atmosphere to the whole film, and I thought the villains, the grandmother and the granddaughter, were perfectly cast. Especially the grandmother, she just had a presence about her that freaked me out. Similar to that of Zelda from Pet Sematary, although they're two completely different sort of characters, they both had a menacing on-screen presence. Even though they weren't massive, bulky, muscly people, they just had that look in their face that just completely freaked me out. And that grandmother in this film is one of those characters that you just never forget. She just had that look in her face like she was completely evil. And then you've also got the granddaughter, who was equally as menacing and freaky. So the two villains in the film I thought were perfectly cast. The atmosphere was brilliant, I thought. The way they just stared down the guy in the wheelchair was just really frightening, and you really did feel very, very uncomfortable around this environment once the other family members were out of the house, because you knew that this guy in the wheelchair, you know he can't get out of the house, so you're kind of waiting for the bad things to happen. And when they are about to, you really do sense it, and it really does send a chill up your spine. So really, really good atmosphere, and that's something I loved about the movie. Now, what I didn't like was the acting, especially from the guy in the wheelchair. He was my only problem with the acting. I thought he was very exaggerated. He overdid it, which is probably the intention of the Japanese director, Shugo Fuji. Now, I know that a lot of Japanese horror films are insane and they're over the top, but unfortunately, I felt that this film would have been better if it had a more serious tone. But unfortunately, as I said, because of the acting, the overacting, the moments where the guy's scared, you can really tell that he is acting, and it just didn't really come across as very natural. And that kind of ruined some of the scenes that were supposed to be really freaky, because you couldn't help but have a little chuckle to yourself when you saw this guy's reaction to certain events. So I thought the acting overall wasn't bad. It's just the guy in the wheelchair that I had a problem with. Now, being a crazy Japanese film, they say it's a Japanese chainsaw massacre. I don't agree with that. It's nothing like that. I don't know why they compared it to that. But for a Japanese insanity sort of film, there is very limited gore. It is not a very gory, bloody film, which really did surprise me. I could say it disappointed me, because I was expecting something pretty insane, because it looked insane from the front cover there. But no, it was pretty light on in the gore. Although I will say there were some very nasty scenes that will keep gorehounds happy, or people who are of the more sadistic kind of nature. There are some very sadistic torture methods used. a lot of it is off screen, so you're going to have to use your imagination. So once again, if you are a Japanese Gore fan, you'll probably be disappointed with this one, because it actually, the front cover is a bit misleading. It looks like a really sort of gory film, but it just isn't. So just be aware of that. Now the twist at the end I really didn't like, and I actually liked a scene right at the end that was reminiscent of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So that's one thing I will say that has similarities between the two, but that's just about it. I actually liked that scene. It was typical Japanese madness. It was over the top, but it was that sort of over the top that the Japanese are known for. Now, I say that differently to the acting, the actor in the wheelchair. I just don't think he was a very good actor, but I could be wrong. It could have been deliberately like that, but if so, I didn't like it. So the overall twist at the ending I didn't like, but there was a scene that I did like at the end, and it was just really crazy, and it kind of felt like you're in some kind of dream. So there is a little bit to like about the film, but overall it is disappointing. I was expecting a lot more, and I really didn't get it. So it's not really a film I'm going to be watching again. Yeah, if you want a really good Japanese horror film, look at films like The Neighbor Number 13. I thought that was brilliant, but this one did fall short. I was expecting a much milder kind of mood than that of The Neighbor Number 13. Neighbor Number 13 is a much more serious film, so I wanted just a really fun gore fest with this one, but unfortunately I didn't get it. Now, the soundtrack was very repetitive. I think it suited the overall mood to the film, but a little bit more variety in the soundtrack would have been good as well. So unfortunately, not one of the better Japanese horror films, but if you're a fan of Japanese horror in general, I would definitely say have a look at it. You might like it. You might like the insane, light-hearted approach that this one has. But in the end, for me, I may have misunderstood the whole point of the film, but if I have, I apologize to anybody who likes it. If you want to talk to me about what you felt about the film, then feel free to do so. But as far as I'm concerned, it wasn't what I expected, and it's not one of the more memorable Japanese horror films out there. Alright, that's it for my review. Until next time, have a great day, and I'll see you later.